Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day that we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. I am Tayla Andre, and we are City of Boston, Black excellence, stay at home. Financial literacy is the topic of today. Earlier today at 12, we had Nick Jonesy, who was giving us all of the feedback that we needed regarding not just savings, but investments and retirement and life insurance. And so a really quick plug, I think it is super important for us to focus on life insurance because that is how wealth is created. When we die as poor people, we tend to leave our children with nothing but debt. Smart people leave their children with a little bit of wealth. And so even if that wealth is enough money to pay for the funeral and that's it, that still is giving your child a leg up and not having to bear the responsibility of or relatives or family members of having to bury you. So first and foremost, financial literacy, the first thing I want you to do is to speak to somebody about getting you some life insurance. And I learned from Angel Rich that you will be sold a term and a full and everything else in between. But the best policy for you to get is to get a universal life insurance. And the way that she explained it is that a term life and a whole life is like, I bet you're going to, like, you're gambling on yourself. You're gambling whether or not you're going to die in the next 10 or 25 years, where a universal life insurance policy remains the same as far as payment is concerned. You're able to utilize it if you want to take it out and use it towards purchasing a home. And so there's just a lot more benefits that come with a universal life insurance rather than a term or a full. So for me, I just want to start out with the basics because I feel like Nick did an amazing job for people who might have a little knowledge when it comes to financial literacy. But one of the things that I am well aware of as a parent of a 16 and a 14-year-old is they don't come home learning about taxes, real estate, credit, or anything regarding real financial literacy. And so we as adults don't learn about financial literacy until it's time for us to have our credit pulled. And then we realize that we've had stuff on there for the last 10 years that didn't have to be on there. We don't understand financial literacy until we're trying to buy a house and not understanding why, A, we don't make enough, we didn't save enough, or our credit isn't where it should be. That we learn financial literacy through negative means and not positive reinforcement teaching means. So first and foremost, what is financial literacy? So financial literacy is important because it gives you the ability to be able to make informed decisions. Financial literacy is the ability to understand and properly apply financial management skills, effective financial planning, properly managing debt, accurately calculating interest, and understanding the time value of money is what it means to be financial literate. And it's important because if you don't know how to balance a checkbook, if you don't know how much money you have in your account versus how much money is coming out of your account, you're going to wind yourself in negative and have debt after debt after debt. You're weighing on your credit report. You're going to end up owing the bank astronomical fees for what are those charges? Surcharges. And so it's important for you to not only understand why or how your money works, but how it works in society as well. And so how do you become financially literate? Well, the first thing you do is you can start picking up books. And so for me, Angel Rich, she's been on the Breakfast Club. She's been all over any type of social media, she created this game called Credit Stacker, which is sort of like Bejeweled, but while you're over there playing the game, it stops you mid-game and it's telling you like, way to go, you paid down some of your student loan debt. Way to go, you paid down your credit card debt. And it'll stop you and say, what is the rate of interest, something like it'll actually teach you while you're playing a game. And it's the first of its kind, created by a Black woman Angel's really young, gorgeous, intelligent, and that's who I was talking about when I said she was talking about universal life insurance. She also wrote this book called The History of the Black Dollar, and it gives you an understanding of where our money has always been and how we as a community have been disadvantaged and taken advantage of. And it also empowers you on how to be the next blank of whatever it is that you want to be. She was actually named the next Steve Jobs by Forbes magazine. And so, trying to take some lessons from those that have already been there. Angel Rich definitely is, and her book is amazing. So first and foremost, hit the books, because you didn't learn it in school. They're not going to teach your babies in school. And so you want to get ahead of it, teach yourself so then you can teach your children. Use magazines and online articles in order to read a little bit and learn a little bit. I'm currently reading a book that's really difficult for me to read. And it's difficult because I don't understand the history of finance, like the finance world, not just finances. And so they make mention to a lot of who's and talk a lot about stocks and bonds and trading. And that's not my lane. And so I know what I'm good at. I know what my strengths are. So it's one of the books that I'm going to have to reread, and it's called More Money Than God. And it's written by a white man with all of his privilege and all of his woo-ha. And, I aspire to have the confidence of a middle-aged white man. Use financial management tools. There's plenty of apps. I definitely will, for those that are currently watching on YouTube, will post all of the information that we speak here today, as far as like Angel Rich's book and all of the apps. I'll go ahead and put them in the chat. But you do want to get you a Credit Karma if you don't have one already. You absolutely want to get Money Stacker so you can play the game if you don't know anything about credit or understand financial literacy. It's definitely a start, not only for you, but for your youth, children, as well as Robinhood and I can't think of the stock app right now, but just to understand stock, to play with stock. They give you fake money to play with so you can get a feel for what stock is and just understanding how it works and how it can help you in your life. Listen to money podcasts. Listen to people that know about money. Going back to the book that I'm reading, More Money Than God, I'm actually not reading it. It's an audio book. And so I'm, stopping, replaying, looking up words, understanding definitions, because it talks about the last like 50 years of finance. And so I'm going back in history and learning about this crash and that crash and how it affected the housing market or the, production market. And so all of this is important when you really want to get a handle on your money, on your finances. Take a financial literacy course. There's plenty of them online, and they're really cheap. Like you can get a financial literacy course for $50 while people are out there paying tens of thousands of dollars to go to school to learn these things. Use YouTube. It is your number one resource that we take for granted. It's like having a library at your fingertips. And practice math. I know for me, if it doesn't have anything to do with dollars, it just doesn't make sense to me when it comes to numbers. And so just practice your math and practice getting back into, handwriting and not always calculating things. I'm so guilty. So I'm right here with you, right? As far as the benefits of financial literacy. So imagine you at 16 were fully equipped with everything you needed to know, would your credit be as bad as it currently is? Would you be a homeowner by now? Would you have made different choices when it comes to your purchases and buying and vehicles and, splurging? Like if you had an understanding like Warren Buffett has like a 1997 Toyota Camry, yet he's one of the richest men in the world. He's lived in the same house for over 25 years. Again, he's the richest man in the world. Would you make different choices if you had the knowledge to make better choices? So it helps you make decisions, like better financial decisions. Aside from that, why else, why is financial literacy important? Because when you take a look at the state of Black America and you take a look at the state of Black Boston, and we know the numbers, what is it, like 150 something thousand for a white family and $8 for a Black family? That's because we don't have the financial knowledge. We don't have the literacy of finances for us to make better decisions. And what you don't know does hurt you. And when you know better, you tend to do better. And I just want to do a check-in. If anybody has questions, if there's anything that I skipped, I know it's kind of one-sided, but I definitely want everyone to be interactive at the same time. And so what do you need to know about finances? It's a lot. And I don't think we're going to be able to cram it all in an hour, but I definitely want to start somewhere, right? So the first place that I want to start is understanding a budget, understanding why it's important for you to have a budget. So why is it important for you to have a budget? So let's say you bring home, we're going to keep it real easy because I told you if it doesn't have anything to do with dollars, it doesn't make sense. So let's start with $100. You bring home $100. Rent is 45, because if we're being honest, rent is not 30% of our income. Sometimes rent is more than 50% of our income. And so rent is $45. You have a light bill, a gas bill, car insurance, card note, maybe. You have kids' health insurance and games and Netflix, and like your $100 a week just dwindle down to $3. So it's important for you to have a budget so you can know, what am I actually spending my money on? Am I spending in abundance of my money on Dunkin' Donuts when I could be making coffee at home? Am I spending so much money going out to eat when I could be purchasing this meal to cook at home and not only have this delicious meal that I made and didn't have to send it back to the waiter and complain about this and complain about that, but I also have leftovers for tomorrow for lunch? Just having a budget and seeing on paper what it is that you're actually wasting your money on. And that was really difficult for me. So I can be transparent, right? So it was really difficult for me to discuss for me to go through a budget, because that meant that I had to be honest. I had to be honest with myself. I had to be honest with my bank account. I had to be honest with what I can and can't afford. And it was difficult because I want to do what I want to do, how I want to do it. I don't want to be accountable, but when you're grown up and you have children, you have to hold yourself accountable, or you're going to ruin your credit. You're going to pay Peter, rob Paul to pay Smith, and you're going to, I cuss, you're going to be asked out. So it's important for you to shout out to Noah Jones, who has actually put my life insurance policy together. He said that you need to have a financial EKG. So the EKG kind of like monitors your heart and sees where you are as far as like your life force. And so we need a financial life force to understand, where are we? And then once you see on paper how much, and what I had to do was I had to print out like credit card statements and take a look at like, what did I spend this on? What did I spend like $52. Where did I spend $52? Coming to find out, that's, aimlessly walking through Target, touching stuff, putting things in the cart. You bought it 3 days ago and don't even remember what it was. When you take a look at that on paper, you start really questioning whether or not you need this product. You start questioning whether or not, are we going to window shop, or are we actually going to pay for this? You start putting things back, right? You start seeing what's important. And then if you have a goal, if you have a goal to buy a house, or if you have a goal to, whatever your goal is, if you have a goal, that will turn your world upside down, because now you're like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to be wasting my money. You stop going out with friends. You stop spending astronomical dollars at the club. Like, there's just certain things that you stop doing because there's something else that's more important. Whether that's sending a child to college, whether that's purchasing a house, whether that's buying a car, whether it's fixing your house, like regardless of what it is that you want to do, it's a vacation. I want to go on vacation. You start counting your pockets differently. Aside from a budget and really taking a hard look at what you're spending your money on and how much money you're spending, when it comes to like weed and alcohol, we're adults and we can be transparent, right? How many single men are spending hundreds, sometimes even tens of thousands of dollars taking women out on dates? This ain't even your girlfriend. You're not even smashing, but you spending money going on a date, feeding her flowers, roses, maybe an Uber, maybe you dropped her off, whatever the case may be. You spending all of this money when you could do things creatively. You just start counting your money differently. So there is, and I can share a resource. Shout out to Chris Conway. Chris Conway has an entire like a financial EKG that you can go ahead and set up and do for yourself and understand your finances a little bit better. And if you want, we can definitely do another live or Zoom with Chris to definitely get us all on the same page. And so credit. So Credit is King is an event that I've been putting on now for almost a year. I absolutely love it because I learned so much about habits and people that I previously did not know. And it's enlightening. It's fun. And I love the fact that so many people walk away with a sense of education that they didn't have prior. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Credit is King. That's better. You guys can see me better. We're going to talk a little bit about Credit is King. But for those that, just want to get right to it, I work with a company that removes things off your credit because there is no law that says that these things have to stay on your credit. There is absolutely no law that resides on any book that says that Macy's can put on your credit that they ran an inquiry, that your mortgager said that you foreclosed on your house, like that. Your foreclosure does not have to remain on your credit report. Your bankruptcy doesn't have to remain on your credit report. And even your student loans can be removed off your credit report. They don't have to be there because there is no law. But we as American citizens don't know our rights. And so we get our rights trampled on every single day for lack of knowledge. We continue to perish. And so the company that I work with, you pull your credit report, you pull it yourself. They, in the back end, do all of the paperwork. They send you the letters, you sign them and mail them. You wait your 30 to 45 days and watch them fall off like pounds on a fat kid. Like they disappear. I also am really excited because I finished my book this week. That was the goal for my 37th birthday, was to finish my book, Finally Home, which has an entire chapter on restoring credit yourself. So if you don't want, or if you're counting your pockets differently now, you don't want to spend the money for a company to do something that you can do yourself, I definitely can go ahead and hook you up with the book or the chapter of the book, which is, I believe it's 12 pages, but it gives you, is a step-by-step guide for how you yourself can fix your credit without having to go through a company and essentially doing the same thing that they're going to do on your behalf. And so you can purchase the book for $20, or you can purchase that chapter 2, for $10. Again, I just want to go back to the history of the Black Dollar by Angel Rich, because there's so many jewels and gems about how to, like my grandmother would say, govern yourself accordingly when it comes to your finances. And the reason why a lot of us, so I'm an 80s baby, and the reason why a lot of us 80s baby have messed up credit is because our parents put all types of everything in our name. The light bill, the gas bill, like everything was put in our name. And there's 60 and 70-year-olds that are, dismissing and not paying attention. So that's the first thing I want to say is, when you get those letters in the mail, do not dismiss it. Don't just throw them away, because just because the letter is in the trash doesn't mean that the problem is gone. So communication is key. The first thing that I would advise you to do, as far as like tips and tricks, is to contact your creditors. So we're going through COVID-19. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy as far as finances are concerned. We're learning now why we have been told for years to have 3 or more months worth of savings stashed away. We get it now, because you could lose your job. The sky could come down falling. People could have to walk around with masks and not go to work. But when you have those 3 months stashed away for savings for a rainy day, there's a lot of people that I've spoken to that was just like, you know what? I did not know how important it was to have this, and I'm so glad that I do. And so for those who currently do not have a rainy day fund, or are feeling the pains of not having a rainy day fund, it is okay. Today is now the day to start. So whether you're saving $1, $100, or $1,000, it's penny by penny, baby. That jug of water, that 5-gallon jug of water, doesn't get filled overnight. It's by that penny, by that nickel, by that quarter that you continuously drip drop in every single day when you come home and empty your pockets. And so you want to have that type of mentality when it comes to your finances. Going back to communication, pick up the phone and speak to whomever, whoever has your loan, whoever is over your credit cards, whoever is over your rent or your mortgage. Like, pick up the phone and communicate first and foremost. This is what I'm going to do. Not assume that your mortgage, I was going to say originator. Don't assume that whoever holds your mortgage knows your problems, because they don't. Don't assume that anybody who has your credit card knows what you're going through, because we're all going through it. And I know that's a mentality that we tend to have. Like, everybody's going through this. Why do you think I wouldn't be struggling? Well, you know what? You didn't communicate with me that you were struggling, so I didn't know. And so that's why it is so important for you to pick up the phone and communicate. I'm struggling. This is what's going on. This is how you can be helpful. This is what I would like. The worst thing they could say is no, but at least you tried. So as far as trying is concerned, try and pick up the phone and ask your credit card company to decrease your annual rate. Do they always do it? No. But if you ask them, if you've never called before, if you've never been late on a payment before, they may work with you and decrease your interest rate. Also, one of the things that I've done, and I've done this with my Victoria's Secret card, I've done this with my Capital One card. Does it always work? No. But every 18 months, I give it a go. One of the things that you want to do is say, hey, can I get some of my interest back. It sounds absurd. It sounds crazy. Tayla, what are you saying? No one's going to just give me my money back. But if you ask, I have gotten my money back from Capital One. I have gotten my money back from New York and Company and Express and Victoria's Secret. And so just ask, like, can I, is there any way that you can give me back my interest? And they've given me 3 months. And then you have to wait another 18 months. Or if you have any late fees, you can pick up the phone and ask them, can I have my late fees back? Even if you have an overdraft protection fee on your bank account, it's okay to, sometimes you have to call the supervisor. Can I speak to the supervisor? Can I speak to the manager? Can I please, like we all going through this together. Can I please have my interest back? So A, ask to have your interest lowered. B, ask to have your interest returned to you. And C, ask for any late fees or overdraft fees to be paid back. Does it always happen? No, it doesn't. But sometimes they do. Another thing that you want to do is you want to communicate. I know a lot of our student loans, I said ours because I got issues too, baby. We are in this together. Our student loans are kind of sort of on hold. I know some of them, not all of them. And so you definitely want to pick up the phone and communicate and find out whether or not your loans are the loans that are being on hold temporarily. If not, find out, like, I just lost my job. Communicate, baby. Like, that's the only thing. Just communicate. If they say no, they say no, but you can't not try and then complain when you're in the same predicament. Okay, so we went through that. The next step that I would advise everyone to do is to take a look. It sounds so small, but it does add up. Take a look at how much money you're spending on, like, do you have an Amazon Prime? Do you have Hulu? Do you have Netflix? Do you, like, all of these services that you have? And then on top of that, you're paying $180 for cable. Do you need cable when you have all these other streaming services? Great question. Cut the fat. Cut as much fat as possible, not just in these times, but all the time. Cut as much fat as possible. So if, pick 3 of them. If you have 5, pick 3. What are the ones that you use, the children use, everybody uses all of the time versus what do we use sometimes? And maybe that's the one that you use like once a year for the 14-day free trial. Create another email address. Who cares, right? I personally have not had cable. Sorry, it's 14. I haven't had cable in 14 years. I have not paid for cable in 14 years. I have no desire to pay for cable. I pay for the internet, and then we have Amazon Prime and Netflix. I cut back Hulu. I was only watching 2 shows on Hulu, and I was paying $15 a month. Cut the fat from everywhere. If you can cut the fat while cutting the fat, if you could stop eating cookies and you cut the fat in 2 different places, that's my problem. So I won't project. As far as credit is concerned, it's really important for me to inform you that credit is more important than money. If you have an 800 credit score, you could walk in anywhere and walk out with anything you want. If I was to walk in with a 600 credit score and you walked in with an 800 credit score, you would walk out a lot faster than I would. Even if I walked in with, I want to put $10,000 down, and you walk in, you say, I'm not putting nothing down. You're still going to walk out of there faster. They're not doing as many, like, all of these checks on you. They're not calling and verifying things. Like, your credit score speaks for itself. And that's huge because a lot of us don't understand the importance of credit. We never had those financial literacy conversations at the dinner time conversations. We've never seen our parents do it. If anything, we know how to haggle. We know how to pick up the phone and say, listen, I ain't got it this month. I'll give you half. We know how to get on a payment plan, but we don't know how to we don't have financial lingo in our repertoire. We don't speak it. We don't understand it. Do you know affluent, in white communities, it doesn't even have to be affluent communities. In white communities, they talk about money all of the time. Yeah, Bob. Yeah, this year I've made 87,000. You know, Jill made 28,000. She didn't do well this year. Like, they talk about their finances openly, how much money they have, how much they have saved. And if you grew up in Black America, like, what happens in my house stays in my house. We're not talking about what I make, who I made it with. Like, it's taboo. And so we just have to get comfortable having conversations about money and start having those conversations with our children instead of being 48 years old, finding out that your parents are in debt and you have to carry that weight because of, XYZ happened. And that, unfortunately, that's what's going on with a lot of our communities. I want to take a shift really quickly into real estate, because real estate is another form of financial literacy, understanding real estate. And as a real estate agent, I cannot tell you how many unhealthy gatekeepers there are when it comes to agents not properly informing their clients of their rights. And it, for me, is annoying because I want my clients to be fully informed. I want my clients to know what they're walking into. And that's why it was so important for me to write Finally Home, because I've seen so many agents make bad decisions on clients' behalf because they felt like they knew what was best for the client versus allowing the client to make an informed decision after teaching them and showing them the way. And so it's important for me to just have more people fully informed, again, so they can make informed decisions. And so when it comes to real estate, why is real estate important? Let's say, again, I'm horrible with numbers, so we're going to keep this easy. Let's say you spend $100 a month on rent. That $100 a month on rent for the year is $1,200. Multiply that by 10 years. That's a lot of money. That really is a lot of money. What is that, like? I don't know. I'm horrible with math. I told you this. And nobody pays $100 a month for rent. And so these $2,000 a month for rent times 12, $24,000 a year times 5. Do you know how much equity your landlord has in their home because of you? Thank you. Thank you for paying my mortgage, because my mortgage is really $1,700. I pocket $300 every month. And that goes towards whatever I want it to go towards. And so the reason why, like, I forgot the number. I want to say like 85% of millionaires became millionaires through real estate. And that's because you can flip this house into this house and flip that house into another house. And you can start off with a single family. And, I have a client that purchased a single family, converted the basement, will be transparent, converted the basement illegally into his own apartment. He went ahead and rented out the rest of the house. They, for 2 years, were paying the mortgage. He was pocketing the additional funds. And with that additional funds that he was pocketing, he gained equity in the house. Aside from gaining equity in the house, he also has this pocket change that he just got from the difference between the mortgage and what the tenants were paying. Mind you, he's living rent free. And so he was able to take that money, buy another single family, because you always want your first home to be a multifamily. Always, always. And I understand that when you are coming from the projects, when you're coming from a 3-family, you have somebody above you, you have somebody below you, you can't, someone's stomping on your head while you have to tiptoe so you don't stop on somebody else's head. Like, after that, you just want to be left alone and you want your own space and you want a single family. I get it. But if you can sacrifice, you can get more than just your single family. You can actually get your dream home by purchasing a multifamily first, and then from there, working your way down into a single family. So what do you need for home ownership? So the first thing you need for home ownership is to be mindful of your savings. And so this goes again to the penny pinching and paying attention to where can you cut the fat and how can you save and how can you put some dollars to the side. And when I say savings, I'm learning that many of us don't have more than $5,000 in savings. And $5,000 is pushing it. That's somebody who's financially literate and making correct decisions. Most of us don't have $300 in savings. This is what I'm learning. This is through experience, conversations. Many of us don't have $1,000 to our name. If your 2 tires went flat, you'd be asked out. When saving for a single family, you want at least $12,000 to $15,000 to put down, and then you also have closing cost. So your down payment is completely different from your closing cost, and it's concerning to me that a lot of people are like, oh, I can, I have the down payment, I have $10,000 for the down payment, but I can get closing cost assistance, right? So yes, you can get closing cost assistance. Yes, they do exist, but they're not always fully funded and they're not always available. And you may not even qualify. So shout out to Rep China Tayla. She said, where should I save my money? A bank account, a credit union? And so the one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to put it in the canister like your grandparents used to, and you don't want to put it in the mattress. You do want to incur some interest if possible. So find, if you have a relationship with a credit union, by all means, go with a credit union over a bank. Personally, that's my own personal opinion. Some people would direct you differently. The reason why I prefer a credit union is because they're smaller. They're most likely to be local. And so you can have a relationship with that branch. You can have a relationship with your representative. And so you will be treated differently than if you go to a big box business where you are customer ABC versus your actual self, your name. And so I would say put it in a credit union, find a high yield savings, something with a higher interest rate. Like I know interest rates are damn near nothing, like less than 1%. But if you can get something, maybe even put it in a CD, just to put it to the side and in the next 12 months, I'm not going to touch it. I am going to wait until I can purchase a house, put it in a 12-month CD. It has a higher yield than a regular savings account. Again, one of the things that we touched on in the very beginning was life insurance. And so, yes, please get your life insurance, get it together immediately. If you need resources, I can post that as well. So aside from your savings, if you're getting a multifamily, I would say you would need approximately $20,000 for a multifamily for your down payment, and then another 7 to 12 for your closing costs. Is there help? I don't want to deter anybody. I don't want you to feel completely overwhelmed. Yes, there is help that you can obtain. Yes, there is a way for closing cost assistance and down payment assistance. But one of the things that a lot of people don't explain is that these are not all grants. And so sometimes it is a grant and you don't have to pay it back. Sometimes it's a loan that is a soft second mortgage that rolls into your mortgage, or you pay it separately from your mortgage, depending on the city that you're in and the program that you're working with. And so first and foremost, when you go to obtain a mortgage and you go to a loan officer or you go to a bank, there are so many different products. Just like if you go to the bodega on down the street this way, they have different products. And if you go to the bodega down the street this way, like there's different products for different brokerages. And so you definitely want to be informed so you can make informed decisions on what is going to be the best product for you. So bringing it back a little bit. And so we're interested in buying a house. What is it that we need? We need a credit score. Once upon a time, you could buy a house with a 580 credit score. They raised that up due to COVID-19 and have made some alterations to credit score and down payments. And, a lot has changed because of COVID-19. But as far as your credit, can you buy with a 630? Absolutely. Can you buy with a 680? Absolutely. But I tell every single last one of my clients, you want your credit score to be at least a 750. Why? Because you're going to get the lowest interest rates. They're going to treat you like, let me see what I can do. Let me see what I can do. So they want to, give you all of these things. It's sort of like the only analogy that I think is best for this is the analogy that I tell my kids. Like, listen, the kids that do their work, get their work done, can do whatever the fuck they want to do. Like, no one's questioning them. What are you doing? What are you going? Did you finish your work? When you do your homework and when you do your chores, no one's going to bother you. You can do what you want. And unfortunately, when it comes to your credit score, it's pretty much the same. That's why you're walking out of the dealership a lot faster than I am, and with something a lot nicer with a lower payment. When you do what you're supposed to do, you have less problems. And so, can you buy with a 680? Yes. But is it in your best interest? No, because of interest. Get your credit score as high as possible. How do I get my credit score high, Tayla? That's a really good question. So if, let's say, for instance, you don't have bad credit, you just don't have any credit, which is considered bad credit, because now I don't know how I can trust you. It'd be one thing if you just had horrible credit and I knew I couldn't trust you, but now, like, I don't know how to trust you because there's not enough information here. So let's just start there, right? Let's start with you don't have any credit. If you have bad credit, TaylaAndre at actually, you guys can email Tayla Made, Tayla Made Credit Repair Easy at gmail.com. And we'll talk about repairing your credit or restoring your credit. But if you have no credit, the first thing that I would tell you to do is it's going to be difficult for you to get that first credit card. So if you have any friends or family members that can add you to their account. And so right now, Anari is on my Express card as well as my Capital One. So when he turns 18, he's automatically inheriting my credit score. So even though right now my son has no credit, he is going to have a beautiful credit score once he turns 18. So if you have a friend or a family member that can add you to their credit for 3 to 6 months so you can establish your own credit, that would be the most ideal. If that's not possible, take $250, get a secure credit card. A secure credit card is when you pay the card in advance. It is secured because it's already paid for. And you go ahead and you spend $50 here and then replenish it right back. You spend $125 here and then replenish it right back. You go ahead and Capital One is really good for, like, if you don't have any credit or if you have bad credit, they're really good with working with you. My first credit card was a Capital One credit, second to my finger hut. Was a Capital One credit card, and it was $150 credit limit. I was in college and I got $150 credit limit. I was so excited, like, got $150. And I stayed at $150 credit limit for like 5 years because I didn't know that I could ask for a credit increase. So another tip, whatever credit card that you have that is not a secure credit card, contact them immediately and say, I would like to increase my credit. So I support not being 100% transparent. If you can govern yourself accordingly, then, tell them you make an additional $10,000. I'm not telling you to lie. I'm telling you, like, you can just fluff yourself up. I aspire to make an additional $15,000 this year. Or you got a raise at work, or whatever it is, and just ask them to increase your credit. Why is this important? Because because going back to credit, when you take a look at a pie chart, they say like 35, but I'm going to say 50% of your credit is whether or not you paid on time. Who did you pay? Who you were supposed to pay on time? And then it goes to, how your credit utilization. If I give you $100, are you spending the entire 100, or are you spending $30? Are you spending $10? Like, the lower your the least amount of money that you spend on that card is going to be better. That's your credit utilization. So if you have that $150 Capital One credit card and I kept maxing it out at 150, it makes me look irresponsible. It makes me look like I'm relying on my credit card versus just using it just to use it. And another portion of credit is if you have too many inquiries. Are you asking for money and asking for money? Give me money, give me money. You look needy. You look desperate. Like, why are you asking everybody to give you money? Like, what's really going on? It looks questionable. And so paying it down so it's less than 30%. Paying on time. Making sure that you're not having too many inquiries, asking too many people for help, and just being mindful of how you spend and what you spend. So you have this secure credit card, and if you can only do $75, do $75. Just like build yourself up. You can just start somewhere. Again, Capital One is the easiest one to get a credit card with. Hey, Rico. And so go ahead and get a Capital One credit card, and they'll probably give you like the little Tayla Andre 150. From there, like, use your credit card when you can, but pay that shit off immediately. And so right now I'm at the points stage of my life. Like, I'm really enjoying points. I like, swiping the card to be able to have like JetBlue points so I can fly somewhere when we can finally go outside. And so if I swipe today for business, for personal, for gas, like whatever it is I'm swiping today, tonight before I go to bed, I'm paying it off. Why? Because it shows like I really don't need the money. I really don't need what you're giving me, but it's nice to have it. And thank you for the point or whatever benefits I'm getting with this card. From there, keep building your credit. And so another portion of credit is, how much do you have? So what's crazy to me is like excellent credit is like 25 plus years. I'm 25 years old. All right. So how do you expect me to have 25-year history? And I'm 25. Like, that's the part of credit that doesn't make sense to me, but your history is really important. So if you have, let's say for an example, I ruined a portion of my credit when I had my Fingerhut card, which was older than my Capital One card, and it was rotating credit, which means I could swipe something and then pay it off, and then swipe something and then pay it off, versus installment, which is like your card note. So I had this revolving credit card that I closed. And because I closed it, it killed all of the years that I had that card for. So since I had my Fingerhut card for 16 years and then I closed it, I lost that 16 years of history. So even if it is a Fingerhut card that you don't plan on using ever again, at least keep the card open, keep it at a zero balance, and throw the card away. Because what you really want is the age of that credit. I ruined my history there. And it then picked up from the Capital One at the 12 years. So I missed out on an additional 4 years of credit history, which would have been extremely helpful towards my 25 years towards excellence, right? So we're still on purchasing a home, having your savings geared up, trimming the fat wherever you can, however you can, counting your pennies, and preparing yourself mentally. So when you're a Bostonian or when you live somewhere and that's where you want to live, and then you take a look at what's going on with gentrification and you're like, I can't afford to live here anymore. There are options. You can do a deeded property. You can do one of the city, so there's the city of Boston deeded properties, and then there's like the HUD deeded properties. So there are affordable properties that are available, but a lot of the affordable properties are outside of the city. So the 40B in the state of Massachusetts is called other things in other states, but the 40B in Massachusetts is when like a Newton or a Wellesley wants to go ahead and invest in affordable housing. And so they have these income driven or income restricted properties that is based on AMI, which is completely asinine because Boston's AMI versus Boston and Newton's AMI are two different numbers. I could go on a tangent forever about that. But the AMI is the area median income. And so when we know that 50% of Bostonians make under $30,000 a year, and the AMI for a 2-bedroom at Bartlett Yard is $125,000 a year, that's where it doesn't add up to be affordable, because I make under $30,000 a year, but yet the max income for this apartment is $125,000. And so that's where we see a lot of the disconnect here in the city of Boston, because how is it affordable? It's affordable based on the area median income, because it's federal, right? It's a HUD thing. It's a federal thing. So the mayor can't change it. The governor can't change it. It's something that federally needs to be changed so we can have Boston's AMI properly reflect the income that Bostonians make versus the income that Bostonians and Newtonians, the people who live in Newton, make. When we know the median income for Newton is $100,000 versus Boston's under $30,000. I digress. So you're getting your credit right. You're ready to purchase a house. Your taxes. So we're going to digress really quickly because I know we're coming to the top of the hour and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to give you a little bit of everything. And so let's eat from the tax portion of financial literacy. Why is it important for you to claim all of your monies? And so my computer is about to go to sleep if I don't plug it in. So give me a moment, please. There we go. So why is it important? So for all of my people that are making side hustle money, you do hair on the side, you babysit on the side, you strip on the side, whatever your side hustle is, claim it. And the reason why I tell you to claim it is because when you go to purchase a house, you need 2 years worth of tax returns. And then you need your pay stubs and yada, yada, yada. And for those that are interested in wondering, yes, you can still buy. Yes, they're still considering unemployment. No, you don't have to worry whether or not you're going to be denied a mortgage because of COVID, you are unable to work. As long as it's because of COVID and not you quit your job and went into a different industry. Really quickly, if you were driving cars for 2 years, but switch companies, like you were driving trucks for Tayla and then you were driving trucks for Andre, while I was driving for 2 years, your tax returns reflect 2 years of driving. It has to be in the same industry, or if they are two different industries, you have to be making more money than you were making last year. Okay, I digress. So you have a job, you make $45,000 a year, but you also have a side hustle that makes you an additional $15,000 a year or $20,000 a year. And you're like, yo, I'm not claiming this $20,000, the government, But what you're really doing is hurting yourself. And the reason why you're hurting yourself is because now you can only afford a $45,000 a year mortgage, where if you claimed your additional $20,000, you could get a $65,000 a year home. And so that $20,000 makes a huge difference when you're looking at a mortgage and whether or not you can afford this, right? So we hurt ourselves because we think we're getting over on the government, but we're actually hurting ourselves more because you could do what Donald Trump does. Do you know how Amazon got a refund, billions of dollars back on their taxes? Because they claim all this shit they spent their money on. So for instance, let's say you're a hairdresser and you braid hair. Sometimes you buy the hair, sometimes you don't buy the hair, but you have your glue and you have your booth fee and you have this fee and you have that fee. And even though you made $20,000 for the year, you spent 10 of that 20,000 to actually sustain your business. You write that off. If you have a business, you can write your lease off. When you have a business, you can write your car insurance off. You can write your phone bill off, your internet connection. All of these things can be a write-off if you are properly claiming your business, which means you also have to get an EIN number, which like there's steps in order, steps that you need to take in order for you to legitimize your business, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Other tips and tricks when it comes to taxes. If you need your taxes done, my homegirl has a business and she's absolutely amazing with the numbers. I suck at the numbers, clearly. I know my flaws. She doesn't. And that's who does my taxes and gets me right every year. So if you need your taxes done, if you need to learn how to, set up your business, myself as well as two of my mentors are hosting an event called the Content Creators Conference, Financial Freedom. And it's to give you the step-by-step guide to take your business, to take your talent, to take your skill and actually monetize your skill. So a lot of us have a skill, but we don't know how to monetize it. We don't know how to properly package it so it's a business and not just a side hustle. And so on June 20th, it's a virtual conference. It's free for everyone, anyone who has internet connection. And it's a really dope setup. So it's not a Zoom. It really gives you a feel of being at a conference. And so again, that's June 20th, the Content Creators Conference for anybody who has a side hustle, AKA a side business, and wants to learn how to get your EIN, put your taxes together, marketing strategies. I can't even think of the entire, but we go through everything from the thought of you having a business to the business plan to the actual, going through. We have a whole hour and a half dedicated to you getting your EIN, registering with the city and registering with the state. Like that was something really difficult for me to do as a business. And so it was important for us to create the space to show people how to do it. We're coming to the top of the hour. We have so much to cover though. So we even go through like how to fix your credit yourself. We'd even talk about, the next steps into home ownership, taxes, claim your side hustles, claim your money, claim the money that you made, especially if you're looking to purchase a house. You can also amend your taxes. So this is something that a lot of people don't know. If you do your taxes and you are trying to be, like Alex says, if you're trying to be a legal crook and you want to, I made X amount of dollars, but you know what? I kind of messed up and I really want to buy a house, but I need that additional $20,000. You can amend your taxes. And a lot of places will amend your taxes for free or a low charge if you go to the same person who did your taxes. And so amendments allow you to add, reduce, like it just allows you to make changes to your taxes after you've already filed. And so that's a tip as far as taxes. And with us coming to the top of the hour, I am so appreciative for your time because you could be anywhere. I know you've been on a million Zooms this month and this was the last place you wanted to be. But I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy. I thank you for your love. And if you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell real estate in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, or Georgia, feel free to give me a call at 617-459-0041. If you know anybody that's looking for help with taxes, I will definitely shoot you over to Quick Link Tax Service. And if you know somebody who needs help with credit, they can either sign up with my company for credit, or if you want the step-by-step guide for $10, I can send you the PDF. Either way, I just want you to get the knowledge so you can make informed decisions. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Shout out to the city of Boston. Thank you for this opportunity. However I can be of assistance, please reach out. Again, Tayla, Tayla, made credit repair easy at gmail.com, 617-459-0041. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope you have an amazing day. Mwah.